Yeah, we're about to go live.
Right. You ain't slow down.
Act like you got them skate. 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 Go live, we're finna go live. 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 Go live, we're finna go live.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Hey, welcome back to Coach A's Football. Hey, this is not the WRE live edition, but this is just a football chop up. Today is special. We're going to talk about just the Miami Hurricanes, the state of the program, the past, the present, and the future. And we're just trying to just check it out and see what we got going on. So we're going to just sit around just for a few moments to get some people in right now. So we'll get some people in to the program. And like I said, we got a special guest coming up. And that way we can see exactly and talk exactly about the program and the state of the program and everything else, man. So we're going to give it just a few moments and we'll go ahead and get started. Let me see here. Yeah. All right, so here we go, man. So we got a couple of people on, and again, I know we are Facebook Live as well as YouTube Live right now. Okay, so if, like I say, if anybody's watching, please, man, make sure you hit the comments. Let me know how we sound. Make sure everything is good because you know you're dealing with computers. Any and everything can go wrong at the time of the show. So I do want to make sure that we are heard and people can hear us loud and clear. Again, I do want to talk about the Miami Hurricanes. I am a Cane fan. I grew up, born and raised in the county of Dade, and that's just exactly what it is, man. So I grew up in Carroll City as a Miami Hurricane fan, and basically that's it, man. So the Canes were rolling at the time I was coming up as a youngster, and everybody wanted to be a Cane, and everybody wanted to go to the Orange Bowl to see them boys get busy, man. So that's what it really was all about. You know, the whole atmosphere being down in Little Havana. You know, you had a lot of Hispanics out there so far as the Cuban population, Nicaraguans, Dominicans, man, and the atmosphere was just something to behold. So, you know, I know our Canes are not right where we want them to be and where they should be right now, but that's what we're going to talk about a little bit today. But back to what I was saying so far as me being a Cane fan, you know, I grew up a Miami Hurricane fan, getting jerseys and this, that, and the third, and, you know, getting to the games and so forth, man, just being excited about that whole event. Basically, that's really what it was an event. So that's really how it came out, man. And I want to see my Canes back on top again. I'm tired of seeing, you know, all these other programs. Even though I love football, I mean, I'll watch any kind of football. I don't care. I watch, you know, the Division III championship too, man, because I just love football that much, and that's not an issue. But I want my Canes to get back on top. So with that being said, we also have a special guest. His name is Balin Trujillo, and he's a coach here in Orlando, in the Orlando area. He coaches quarterbacks, and I'm going to really let him introduce himself because I don't want to do him a disservice and leave something out. So I'm going to let him introduce himself as well. But, you know, he's a coach. He does quarterback training and everything else. So I'm going to bring him on right now, and he's a longtime Hurricane fan. All right, so give it up for him, man, and that's Balin Trujillo, man. Balin, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear, my man.
All right, awesome, man. That's perfect, man. Everything looks good on this side, so the sound and everything sounds good. And let's just tell the people out here right now, you know, a little bit about you, your background, and how you became a Hurricane.
Yeah, so just like Coach had said, I train quarterbacks in the Orlando area. You know, just basically doing that. I've been coaching for about 5.5 years now. Started my own business, and then as it got bigger, I started my own camps. Now I travel all around the country doing quarterback camps. And talking about the Hurricanes, one of my best friends is Kevin Olson, who was a former Miami Hurricane quarterback, and his brother obviously is a All-American at Miami, Greg Olson. So we do a lot of camps together and travel around the world, and with Quincy Carter and Steven Garcia and guys like that. So that's pretty cool. But like Coach Hayes mentioned, he's a Hurricane, and so am I. And if anybody knows me and has been a friend of mine or coached with me, on Saturday mornings, I'm sending group texts. I don't care. It's all about the U that day. I grew up a Hurricane fan because if you look behind me, this is actually my dad's sister's house. And this is in Coral Gables, Florida, about a block away from the Hurricane campus. So as a kid, we'd always come over here And, mainly during the season, I'd go to some games. And like you said, man, that Orange Bowl was something different. I remember as a kid, my first ever game was November 4th, 2006 against Virginia Tech. And it was a surprise. My dad picked me up right after school. I was in 6th grade. And we went to the game. And, I mean, yeah, we lost 17-10. But, man, what a crazy event it was. And just something about that Orange Bowl feeling was, man, ever since that day, I always wanted to put a U in my helmet. And luckily for me, I've been fortunate enough to play at USF, so I got to play against the Hurricanes. And that was a quite an event because a funny story. I hope we have a little bit of time here, but I was actually walking to the team meeting at USF, and my quarterback coach, Coach Peter Voss at the time, he actually called me into his office. And as a player, if you're a one-on-one in your office, that's not a good thing. So I'm
bad
thinking,
business, bad business.
Yeah. So I didn't know what was going on. I was like, man, I've been doing everything good. Grades are right. I've been doing good in practice or whatever. And he pulls me in, he shuts the door and he says, hey, I just want to show you something and how easily media can do something. So he showed me a picture of back when I was like in 5th grade with a Miami Hurricane jersey on, throwing up the U at a Hurricane game. He said, if the Hurricanes got this and found out one of our quarterbacks is a Hurricane fan, just imagine what the media can do. And I'll never forget, that's when I really realized the power of social media, especially at that level. And I mean, it was like a dream for me going against, my former team. I didn't play a redshirted, but just to see the team I grew up with or loving my whole entire life across the way there was quite a memory I'll never forget. And yeah, man, I'm born and raised everything Miami. My dad's from Miami, so it's just everything. I love the Hurricanes. It's at least the Hurricanes is definitely my number one out of all the Miami sports.
That's awesome, man. Well, listen, they may be number one in your eyes for Miami sports. I'm Miami everything. I've said this 100 times, and I'm going to say it 100 more. I'm a Cane. I'm the Heat. I'm a Marlin. I'm a Dolphin. I'm a Miami Hooter. I've said it before, man. Hey, I'm a Miami Hooter. For you guys that don't remember, man, hey, the Marina team, listen, the Soul was a soccer team. So anything Miami, man, I'm for it and with it and will support it. So that is what it is, man. Hey, big shout out to Coach Toriano Brooks, man. Appreciate you stopping by, man. Appreciate it. Mi amigo, ¿cómo está, my friend? Huh? All right, man. So, yeah, man. So, so with that being said, man, I do want to get into this because I want to keep it around 30 minutes or so. But let's talk about the past a little bit of the Miami Hurricanes. And I'm going to just tell you my story of what I remember so far as the past. And when I look at the past, I'm looking from basically around the year 2000 and before that, okay? So we know what they were. We know the winning the national championships, and we know all of the things that they did. And if you did not get a chance to see the documentary called The U, then you've done a disservice to yourself. You've done a disservice, not even just being a Hurricane fan, but just being a fan of the sport. You know what I mean? Because it talks about culture. It talks about, I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, we all have our teams. But if you're a true fan of the sport, you can appreciate anything from anywhere because it shows you how things come about, how people are trendsetters and so forth and so on. And, as much as sometimes I don't like those Ohio State boys, man, the way they did us, I still would look at the documentary on the Maurice Claret situation and so forth, because that's how you learn. So with all that being said, I do challenge, if you have not seen it, or if you have seen it, go watch it again, both parts, part 1 and part 2. Because it talks a lot about the history. And again, it wasn't social media at that time. Everything wasn't a click of the button. You didn't know what really happened behind the scenes. So it's a great documentary on the U and how they became who they were with Coach Snellenberger and leaving the pipe on the sofa. So he had a reason to come back. And man. I mean, it's just those type of things, man. Yeah, just those type of things. So with all that being said, like I said, so with that, and then we know what they did so far as winning, coming along. And again, I'm 43, man. So at 43, I was in high school in the 90s, high school and college in the 90s when they were doing what they were doing. And so I was old enough to appreciate it and understand it and really, really embrace everything that happened with those guys, man. So let me just talk about the past like I started off. So with the past was huge because Miami and football was like just the word Miami and football, not even the school, but the city was synonymous. Like it was one thing because, we played basketball, but man, you could turn any corner at any block at any time of year and you'll see kids playing in the street. They playing football. You know what I mean? And that's just what it is. We would play block for block. Everybody would get on their bikes and you would see a bunch of kids with cleats hanging over their shoulder and a football, man. So we going to play and everybody was the Hurricane. So With that being said, man, I want to hear your story in regards to the past and how you visualize them. You know, because I think you are a little younger than I am. But how did you visualize them coming up?
No, that was football. So I was born in '92, so I'm 28, and they won the national championship that year, even though it was in January of that year. They won in '91, but that just started off the right foot.
I'm not sure if we can hear you, man. Your vocals went out for a second.
You guys there?
Go ahead.
Still there?
Yeah, got you.
All right, sorry.
No, you're
No,
right.
so where we left off, again, I was born in '92. They won in '91. And just hearing stories as a kid from my dad. My dad actually snuck into the national championship game where they beat Nebraska on the 2-point conversion. He actually snuck into the game. Yeah, my dad did some crazy stuff back then. So those that are watching, I don't condone you to sneak into games, but he did do that, and it was a national championship game. And so he got to witness that. So just hearing stories from my dad, and just the power that they were, and then obviously seeing as a kid, Miami back then, at least in the '90s, was like the team that everybody watched and everybody feared. No one really liked them. And I liked it because my friends were all Florida State, Florida fans. So when I was a kid in elementary school and middle school, then I used to talk trash because I was always by myself. Everybody had their clique of the Gators. Everybody had the clique of the Florida State. And I was just the lone Miami fan. Right. And I would love it because back then Miami would the wide rights, wide lefts. Like every week I'd come into school. I mean, one time I wrote to the teacher. I don't know if you remember the game where we were down 10-0 in the fourth quarter. Brock Berlin leads a comeback. We tie the game at 10 on a Sonoris Moss screen, and then we win in overtime. And I remember that next day I wrote my teacher a note saying, "How does it feel to live in 365 days without another win or something like that against Miami?"
That's awesome. So listen, Bailey, like, and it's funny you say Sonoris, right? Because the funny thing is, I'm gonna tell you how I was coaching. I actually coached against him when he was at Carroll City, and I was at Miami Norland Senior High School. So a lot of the guys that you actually watch playing as Hurricanes, I coached against. I coached again. We're going to talk about them in the present. But so far, and that's the past for you. And that's funny because my past was, 80s, 90s, mid to early to mid 90s. Yours was late 90s to 2000s. Exactly.
So it's time, right? Yeah.
well, all of it was good. All of it was
you're right.
good. So
remember as a kid the national championship in 2001. That's like the earliest I remember like physically watching an entire game, and obviously we destroyed Nebraska in the championship game. And then that following year I remember crying as a kid. That's how deep it was when Wilson McGahee had tore his knee up against Ohio State, which by the way, those that are listening, my wife's an Ohio State fan and her entire family's Ohio State fan, so I still hear about that game to this day. But I remember that impact it had on me as a kid, just as a fan watching the game, and how winning was so important in Miami. And that's all I knew. So every time Miami lost, it was like the whole world ended for me. I would have a bad attitude. My parents would wonder, it's just a game. They'd always tell me it's just a game. And I already knew because all those Mondays I get back to school and talk all that trash. I knew that Monday that Miami would lose. Oh, I would hear it from everybody. Because remember, I was by myself. But boy, they would all hear about it every Monday, every time Miami won. So I was in the era, like you said, that late 90s, where I really remember as a kid, as a fan, where we'd win and win. I mean, we went on 58 home game win streak, national title appearance. So I'm like, this is Miami football. And people were afraid of them. And I'll tell a Gator fan to their face, you guys took them off the schedule because it's too hard of a non-conference game. And we all know that. So I grew up in a really good era, but now it's like I'm still in that same era where I'm now seeing the decline. So I've seen where it peaked, and now I'm like seeing where it's just not good. But the past was, especially as a kid, for me, was amazing. Like you mentioned, when you talk about coaching, I played against the 8 of the best Hurricanes. Well, at the time, recruits. When I played at Boone, we played Miami Northwestern in a state championship game.
Ja'Cory Harris,
Ja'Cory Harris, Aldarius Johnson, Kendall Tompkins,
Tommy Streeter,
Marcus Forston. I mean, you name it, they're all Hurricanes. So I felt like I was playing against Miami already before we even got there. So,
the funny thing about that is, Bailey, I coached against them, and what we called at the time, we called that the Soul Bowl. It was the Soul Bowl at that time. No, that's Bridgewater. I'm sorry, I apologize. That was Teddy Bridgewater the year. But anyhow, listen, let me get into this part because I do want to transition from the past into the present. Now, I'm going to look at the present as from, let's say, 2000, to about now. when we're looking at about this 20-year span, because I still think it's relevant. So like I said, we the past was say 99, 2000 and before. So the present would be within this 20-year span, right? So when they went on it, so when they won the championship, then they go to Ohio State, they lose on the controversial call against Glenn Sharp, which I'm still mad about. But guess what? But here's my thing. And here's my thing as a coach. I'm gonna say this, and I have to be honest. I was upset about the call, but I was even more upset because it wasn't the last play of the game. We still had a chance to win it.
Yeah,
we still had a chance. We still had a chance to win it, and we didn't do it. So yeah, things happen in football. You know what I mean? It's a culmination of all these calls and whatever. But guess what? As we always say in football, it's on to the next play. Now, if that was the last play of the game, then yeah, I would have had some real beef. But as a Miami Hurricane, we still had a chance to win it. And now let me go because I am skipping. So now we go from that 2000, 2002, 2003, 4, so forth. All right. When they were really on top. Okay. And then there was a coaching change. Okay. So at that time, Larry Coker takes over for not Dennis Erickson, Butch, for Butch Davis. Right. So Butch leaves and goes to Cleveland. Okay. And he takes over. He takes over at that point. So now here's my question. Okay, so here's my true question, and I'm gonna start opening this up to guys here as well for comments to jump in. Okay, but here's my question that I have right now, because we talked about the past and a turning point. So what was the Miami Hurricanes turning point in my eyes? This is how I see it. Miami Hurricanes turning point. There were two particular things that happened, and I'm going to say this. Very first thing is the style of recruiting in which we did. Okay, one, right after that championship year, and it may have even been the year before, we just didn't feel it because those guys were either redshirt freshmen or they weren't major contributors to the team.
Yeah,
they were. They were just so low on the totem pole at that time. Yeah. We just didn't feel them until 3-4 years later. My second thing, and people do not realize this. All right, this is where my age is going to tell me. The thing that hurt the Miami Hurricanes the most was the internet. Okay. And everybody always says, well, Coach, what do you mean by the internet? Okay, I remember taking kids. We took 22 kids to Michigan State. We took 22 guys on a plane to Michigan State. 19 of those children had never, they were children, man, had never been on a plane before, okay? And if you know something about Miami, and you know the way it's made up in the culture, most of the kids, when they call it the bottom, it is literally the bottom. We are 7 hours from the state line of Georgia, okay? We have kids that never passed County Line Road or never even been to Disney World, which is only 3 hours away in Orlando, 3.5 hours away in Orlando. Why? Because of the culture. We have a lot of Haitian, Jamaican, Bahamian, Nicaraguan, Dominican. So therefore, they didn't have family members that came to Miami. All of their family members lived in the city. So there was no reason for summer vacations to, Georgia or New York or so forth and so on. So all they knew was Miami. So there was no reason to get on a plane, no reason to travel. Another is economics, and I'm not going to get into the socioeconomics about stuff, but that was another big part, okay? That there was a piece where kids could not get out of Miami to see things. I'm not saying every kid, but a very lot. Think about it. If we take 22 kids that are high school seniors, getting ready to be high school seniors, had never been on a plane before, right? We had kids in there. Their parents didn't even know how to even navigate through the airport because they have never been there. So I'm just simply saying about the culture of Miami, okay? So let me go back to what I was saying about the internet. Once we start taking kids on these trips, it start opening their eyes to different things. Because I remember taking guys to Miami down there to practices and to the facilities, and what they saw was beautiful, but that's all they knew.
Yep.
They didn't know what to compare it to, right? They didn't know that, like I said, Tennessee had the most outstanding facilities. And this is way before Oregon started their whole trend. And Ohio State and Michigan had the top facilities and all of this different stuff going. Even Rutgers, man, I've been to Rutgers. They had an outstanding facility, man. And at that time, Greg Schiano was putting brand new stuff in when he was getting a lot of guys out of Florida. But anyway, let me go back to what I was saying. So when the internet came, it allowed guys to see beyond Dade County. And it allowed them to see, what other schools had to offer. Because you know as well as I know, when you go play another team, you don't go on their campus and tour the campus. You go in the hotel, you have meetings in the hotel, you do a walkthrough in the parking lot, you get on the bus, drive to the crappy visitor locker room, play the game, go back to the crappy visitor locker room, get on the bus, go to the airport, and fly home. That's it. So you don't get to see what Notre Dame has to offer so far as a campus. They don't take you on a tour. It is strictly a business trip. So with all that being said, that's why I say this all the time about the internet hurting the University of Miami so far in the recruiting realm, okay? So far as, you walk in there, man, we still had linoleum floors. Guys got hardwood floor. They got marble this and all of that stuff going on, man, okay? So those are the two things in my eyes were the turning point in the talent of the University of Miami. What was yours?
I'm going to agree with you on the first one, definitely. I think that when Larry Coker came in, his first problem was he went away from what Snellenberger did and what Butch Davis did, and that stay right here in Coral Gables, Dade County, and recruit in this area. Why are you going to California? Why are you going to Vermont like we talked about earlier? Why are you going to places like Iowa and stuff like that when you're trying to get a 4-star or 5-star recruit out of there when you have just that same talent here in Miami? And I know the difference between a 4-star recruit in Miami and a 4-star recruit in someplace like Vermont or even like Iowa. There's a big difference. Trust me, I've seen it at camps. It is a different breed when you talk about a kid that plays in the streets since they were 2 years old, and that's all they know is football, and the only way out is to go to the University of Miami. And like you said, man, when Coach Larry Coker came in here and he was starting to get those recruits, those big-time recruits out of state and coming into Miami, it just didn't feel right. It wasn't home anymore, and they lost their identity, and they lost, that sense of pride to where we're going to make it out of where we came from. We're going to come together. And now they're going out to other places because now they feel like, oh, they're just going outside of where we're used to. And now they're bringing in guys we're not comfortable with. Now we don't want to be a part of this. Let's see what else is out there, like what you said about the internet. I feel like it was too fast of a downhill slope when Larry Coker came in, and I feel like that hurt recruiting now, which is interesting because if we look at the history of Miami in this present moment, the last decades, we've been top 10 recruiting class almost every single year. And so that tells me one thing. It tells me, one, we're getting the talent, but two, the coaching there has to be stability in the coaching. That is all coaching. If you can't win with the talent here in Orlando or here in Miami, and you can't win like that just like it was in the 90s, then that's a coaching issue. And so I feel like, a big part of the reason why we're kind of going downhill, the turning point was that 2003, 2004, and then ultimately I think in 2005, and then before the Shabackle in 2007 against Virginia, the last game to ever play in the Orange Bowl, like you see the pride there. I mean, that was just a 48-0 beatdown. Like, what is that? And half those guys were all Larry recruits senior year, or Larry Coker senior year recruits. And you just saw it just wasn't the Miami that we're used to knowing. And we're getting back to that with Randy Shannon and him coming in, and he was such a great recruiter and stuff like that. But when you talk about the change of the turning point, it has to do with coaching, and it still is, unfortunately, a problem in my opinion.
Okay. Well, here's my thing, right? So we got a guy on here, man. I'm gonna add him on, and here's the thing, guys. Here's my because I want this to be an open discussion. So if you are a viewer, I just put into the comment section the actual link for you to come on here. Okay, I don't have a problem with anybody come on here voicing their opinion. I only have one thing, right? No cursing, because YouTube will blast me. You understand me? But if we want to have a civil discussion, I am more than welcome. I said 30 minutes, but if it lasts an hour, 2 hours, I'm cool with that too. But so the link is in there. If you want to come on, you're more than welcome. Click the button, come on in, and I'm gonna bring in. Let me see. We got a guy named V Willie right now, so I'm gonna add him in, and I'm gonna talk to him right quick. All right, V Willie, can you hear me?
Yes, Coach. How you doing, Coach?
I'm good, man. So look, so
hey, hold on, Coach. You got Coach. It's how we greet each other, Coach.
I apologize. I apologize. So V Willie, let me ask you a question. Where are you from?
Well, I'm from you probably know it as Miami Gardens, but we call it Carol City where I'm from.
Come on, I'm from the crib. I know it's Carol City.
Right. You see, I believe it all day. I live up north right now, and everything's still how we do orange and green every day, all day, Coach.
That's what I'm talking about. So let me ask you this: being a fan, and I don't know, I guess you heard what we said so far as our comments of the turning point. What do you think the turning point was with the University of Miami so far as the program itself? If you agree, disagree, or whatever, you got another
right. I think you brought up a valid point about the internet. But I want to break it down to some basic points that I feel that we're lacking. And first, I think what happened to us was the style of play changed. The NCAA changed the style of play, how we used to play back then. We were kind of meaning that with the penalties, like we already were known for swag. We came in there, we would hit you, we would punish you, we would run the score up, and people did not want to play Miami, right? So as time went on, they started to level the playing field. And it always seemed as though every time there was something against the Hurricane. That's why if you're a Hurricane fan, it's always us against the world. And whether you're being from Miami or you're being from Kansas City, we were always behind the ball. They loved us to hate us. We were like the Bulls before the Bulls became popular, right? So the first thing I think was the style of play. And my second thing I believe is we failed to move with the trend, right? We were always a pro-style offense, a pro-style team, right? Well, all these teams now, they run a spread. They're putting 4 receivers on the field. But we have to be able to put that. Because remember, our third wide receiver will burn your best cornerback. Why don't we have our best players on the field at all times? So, I think that along with the recruiting trail hurt us going down, back in the past and moving forward. But hopefully, we can get it together. We also need and last thing before I go, we need a coach who has the mentality that, I'm going to play and I'm going to play it my way. I'm going to throw the ball. I'm going to put my best players on the field. We're going to leave it there. So there's just a number of things I think hurt us moving forward.
Good. Well, hey, man, I appreciate you, man, coming on, giving us your point of view. And like you said, there was some valid points. There's some things I'm going to push back with in regards to style of play, but I'm going to talk about that. But I do want to bring this piece up right here. We got D. Harmon. I'm going to bring his question in. He says, once start losing the local talent, that was the beginning of the end. All programs have to build a fence around their university. So that's a valid point, D. Harmon, man. And I'm going to say this as coaching, right? So at the time we're talking about, right, Balin, is that I was coaching at Norland. I started in 2000, okay? So I started coaching there in 2000. We ended up winning the state championship against, matter of fact, Orlando Edgewater in Tallahassee at Florida State at Doak Campbell in a barn burner, man. But we had talent, right? Here's where the problem really came. We had, at that time, we had Dwayne Bowe. If you guys don't know who that is, he was
Dwayne Bowe.
First round draft pick, 24th overall. You understand what I'm saying? Prior to him, we had a young man named Terrell McGill who started. Now, they went to LSU, okay? Now, that was at the time when Nick Saban went to LSU. He came and got our players, all right? Terrell McGill started as a true freshman in the SEC at that time. That's big. That means you're a big-time player, bro. If you can start as a true freshman on the offensive line, all right, and with them big dogs in there, that means you're a big-time player. And guess what? We didn't recruit him. Dwayne Bowe, I never forget this. Miami recruited him subpar. I remember when Miami came out there, their last push, Larry Coker, Randy Shannon, Michael Barrow, all of them jumped out this Escalade at the last second. And I remember Santana Moss even trying to help recruit him because he gave him his own shoulder pads from the U. And if you look at the state game, they talk about it because you can see the orange and green underneath his New Orleans jersey. And our colors was maroon and gray. But they did not make pushes for the big-time players. I can go the guy from North Miami Beach, Max Gene Gillis, ended up going to Georgia, ended up playing for the Philadelphia Eagles. We had talent. Ali Highsmith played linebacker at Miami Central, played at LSU. We had about 4 or 5 kids went on to Auburn to play. And that was a time, like he said, about putting the fence around. We knocked the fence down and let the kids just out the building, man. And that's where we really, really had a problem because we didn't push for the top players. All right. And that's where it started to show. And then you go look at it. Them same kids, Dwayne Bowe and them, they go win a national championship with Nick Saban.
Yeah, but coach, but I think that's a great point. But that's a small pool of players, a bigger pond of issues.
But I disagree because it may be a small pool, but in that small pool, those were the top players of the county, and had just won a national championship and just lost it on the last second controversial call, and you don't even try to recruit them. Now,
Yeah,
if you put your best effort forward, right? You would have put your best. I'm telling you firsthand. I'm watching it. They wouldn't come. Now, I don't want to tell on nobody, so I'm gonna just say this coach. All right, he showed up at our school once a week, and he wasn't in state, and he made sure. And those kids went to those schools. So I'm just gonna say it because I don't want to belabor this point because we got a lot to talk about. And I do appreciate it.
I probably got to go, Coach, but I'm not sure how long I can stay on. But my thing is this: when you even with that, we can hold that point. I can hold that point and say even with that. When you watch over the last 5 years, we run the same 5 plays.
Oh, we're gonna get to that. Hold on, but we're gonna get to the future. Hold on, but we're gonna get to the future. We're talking about the turning point. How did they?
Even in the last 20 years, I can sit on my couch and I can tell you it's gonna be motion left, flanker screen. We run the same 5 plays. We rarely mix it up. We have too much talent on the field to not play these guys and have a better coaching scheme. We all know that we have coaches who are great minds. I'll give you a good example. And this UM's failure. It could be from a coaching standpoint and from a kid standpoint. I'll give you a good example. You can't tell me a guy like Lane Kiffin, who is a great coach, can go to an FAU and get the best out of those quote unquote second tier players. See, we have a problem at UM. We always behind the 8 ball. We never get the perfect fit. We get somebody who is safe majority of the time, right? So no one wanted to touch a Lane Kiffin because why? He was ostracized and he was kind of banned from the coaching ranks, right? But you bring in Lane, who has a mentality as a gunslinger. He goes in and turns around a program, and you want to tell me we can worry about Dwayne Bowe and Magazine Gillis? No, we have to get the right coaches, and we have to change that program. He put 4 receivers on the field and 1 running back. They ran the score up in FAU. So my thing is, you have a good scheme. You have to be able to move from the 90s. We can 20 coach. We can't have 3 receivers on the field, but only on 3rd and 20. I think 3rd and 20 we put 3 receivers on the field. I come out 1st and 10 with 4 receivers on the field. So we have to be able to mix it up and throw different. Ohio State, you know why they're so good? They get the best talent, but on 1st down, you may see I formation or 1 back set. But believe me, on 2nd and 3rd down, they throwing a kitchen sink at you. So I'm not saying that you don't have a valid point, but my thing is and you're a coach, and you can sit back and say, well, I see this play coming. We always had decent defenses, right? Our defense can hold us in the game. Our offense always seems to let us down. And I'm passionate about it because like you guys, I've been there for the top and there for the bottom, and I'm still holding on. I think we're going to get back one day. We're going to have to find the right fit. We'll get back one day. But right now, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard, Coach. I appreciate you guys' time,
Hey, man, V. Willie, man, I appreciate you coming on, man. You made some valid points, man. I really do, man. So thank you, man, for coming on, man. And continue to keep watching, man. And make sure you hit that.
See, what's the name of that? WRE Live? I'm watching you on that too, Coach. You're doing a great job, man.
I appreciate that, man. WRE Live, yeah, man. We do it with the talent, man. Hey, make sure you hit that subscribe button.
Take care of yourself.
All right, thanks a lot, buddy. Hey, he had some great points, man. Balin, you got anything to add to that before we move on? Maybe I lost him. I'm not sure if I lost him or not. But anyway, I'm going to say this piece right here. V. Willie had some great points when he talked about it, about the coaching and everything. But I did, like I said, I wanted to just make sure I was talking about in regards to the turning point of when it went from the peak to what started the downslide. So now he brought in the coaching piece of it. So now we had a change in coaching. Larry Coker comes, he leaves. Then we bring in, I don't know what Balin when he may have left me. Anyway, I'm going to leave him up just in case he popped back on. But anyway, so we had a plethora of talent when it came to that. Then there was a change in coaching, So then after he leaves, Randy comes in. Am I correct? Yeah. So Randy comes in. Hold on. I'm sorry. Maybe he's gone. So anyway, he comes in. And the thing, what I necessarily didn't like about Randy was I loved him as a coach and I loved him as a recruiter and everything. Hold on, let me see if I can bring Balin back in. Balin, you back up, buddy?
Yeah, man. Sorry about that.
No, you good. You good. So I was just saying, I don't know if you heard me, but I was just saying we good. So now that we got to the point, what was the turning point? We talked about Coker and recruiting. So now I want to get into the coaching change piece of it, right? So after Coker comes what? Randy, correct?
Correct. Yep.
So Randy was on that staff, if I'm not mistaken.
He was.
So he was on that staff as the DC, as the defensive coordinator for those that don't know. But anyhow, so he's on the staff, right? And this is the part where I did what I didn't like. Because if you remember this, he was not UM's first choice.
Right.
I think they were trying to go after Houston Nutt and a couple of other guys, if I'm not mistaken. And then nobody wanted the job. Nobody really wanted the job because, again, if you guys don't know this, University of Miami is a private school. We didn't have the money to pay the coaching as the Alabamas and stuff because those are state institutions, all right? So they ended up with Randy. Okay, and they ended up with him coaching. And here's what the thing was. I don't know if you guys remember this. A lot of the Hurricanes started getting in trouble, was constantly on the news, fights and so forth and so on. Their ploy to him was, I need you to clean up the program, get the kids to graduate, okay? Play good, solid football, keep them out the newspaper. And in all honesty, that's what he did. That's exactly what Randy did. He kept them out the newspaper. He got the graduation rate high and everything else, right? But here's where the problem lies. The environment and the culture changed dramatically at that time. We lost the Orange Bowl, okay? We had the scandal that went down with my man with the paying the player. I forgot his name. What's his name, Baylor?
Shapiro.
Yep. It was almost the perfect storm for a destruction of a team, man. You had the Orange Bowl, your home you lost. And if you guys are not familiar with Miami, where they play now at Dolphin Stadium is 30 miles from the campus. That's huge right there, man, when it comes to culture and everything else. You got all these other schools, Ohio State, Michigan State, Georgia. Their campus is or their stadium is on campus. They can walk from their dorm room there and have a great time. Drink a couple beers, do what they're going to do, and walk back home and sit down. Our guys got to get Ubers, Lyft, buses, and everything else, so the culture had totally changed. And so with that being said, go ahead, Balin, talk to us a little bit about in regards to the coaching change and to where we are today.
Yeah, so like you just said, man, when the whole Randy Shannon thing happened and he lost all that, I feel like that was a big statement as far as that college environment. You know, again, when we talked about the Orange Bowl, how special that place was, and it actually meant something to those kids because they grew up in that area. You know, they go out of the street playing football, they look up, there's the Orange Bowl. Now you tear that down, there's no sense of pride with the Hurricanes. Now you're sharing a stadium with a pro football program. What college, if you go to a place like you said, Georgia, or you go to a place like Alabama, you go to a place like Florida State, where are their stadiums? Right there on campus or within walking distance. Miami, you got to travel literally 30 minutes to Fort Lauderdale just to play your game. So there's no sense of pride there. So when you talk about recruiting, you talk about those kids wanting to play for something or represent something, you're really not representing what you used to represent. Even though the Orange Bowl was still kind of far away from the campus, it was just that sense of pride, that sense of you're where you grew up. You know, now you're kind of in the outskirts of Miami. Honestly, some people don't even consider Fort Lauderdale Miami. Let's be honest. It's just right there on the outskirts.
Well, in all honesty, the stadium sits in Carroll City. So, because I remember when they built this. So the stadium does sit in Carroll City. And if you don't know the geography of Carroll City, that is really right there on the county line of Broward County, Dade County.
Yeah, the county.
But even with the Pro Bowl, even with the Orange Bowl, okay, you were engulfed in Miami culture. You were in Little Havana. You were you would see guys out there roasting pigs before the game. You know, you could park your cars in there. I feel sorry for people who didn't get a chance to explore that. Yes. And what I'm going to say here, because I do want to move on a little bit because we got other guys jumping in, which is perfect. All right. But I do want to go through some of these comments. But again, we talked about Shannon, and then we go through Al Golden. Right? Was Al Golden? Yes. Al Golden. So here's my problem that I had with Al Golden. The only problem that I really had. And with the administration. You have to understand the culture of Miami. We talked about, I'm not going to belabor the point. But you have to know what makes these kids move. And I know it's going to sound super petty when I say this, but it is what it is. When Al Golden put on a shirt and tie on the sideline, that was not Miami. That was Penn State's thing.
Yep,
that wasn't Miami. You know, that wasn't a Miami thing. You know, the kids still played, and you had guys like Randy Johnson, Duke Johnson, that went there, because guess what? I think Duke went there because he truly and honestly was just a Miami kid. I don't care if Bobo the Clown was coaching the University of Miami. He was going to go to University of Miami because he was just a hometown kid, So the things that I see, that really changed when it came to Al Golden was, like you said, the style of play. I don't think he was the right fit in regards to the Miami style. Now, I do have to say this to V. Willie's point with the Lane Kiffin. He may have been ousted to a certain extent when it comes to coaches and the coaching realm and what people didn't like about him and the antics and so forth, whatever. But I still think he may have had that. And that's something, because people do not realize this. The kids in Miami and South Florida, in Florida really, from I have to say this, from Orlando being here and down, you got some of the same similarities. But the kids in South Florida especially are a different breed of player and
100%.
people. And it's all because 100%. Of our culture. And that's really just what it is, because you are truly the melting pot of so many cultures. So let me shut up talking. Let me get into this part right here. We got another young man that jumped on. I don't want to call him young man. He might be older than me. I don't even know. But Real Talk FBS, I'm going to add him on because I want to get his point on the turning point, the coaching changes, and then we're going to go into the actual present, and then we're going to pop up some of these questions up here. All right, Real Talk FBS. Holla at us, man. Talk to us. Tell us a little bit where you located. You a Hurricane fan or what?
What's going on, Coach Hayes? Yeah, man, Hurricane fan. I'm from Miami. I live in Orlando right now, just like you, but grew up in Miami in the early 80s, late 80s and 90s. And you guys you guys hit it right on the head. I wanted to come on here and just talk as a fan. You guys make great points about, coaching and personnel and talent and things like that. But just as a fan, I truly miss that culture and environment of when we were in the Orange Bowl. And to your point about the turning point, that to me was a big deal, man, because the atmosphere wasn't there. Yes. My dad used to take me to the games. We used to have season tickets to the Orange Bowl, and me and a friend of mine and his dad would go, and we used to look so forward to that, man. That ingrained being a Hurricane fan. Of course, they were winning and things like that. They didn't win every year, but that just meant so much to the city. We thought it would be good because, I grew up in Carroll City as well, so the stadium's right down the street, but it just didn't serve the same impact for some reason. I would watch games on TV, and, the stadium's like, 25% full, and, we're getting blown out. There's really no true home court advantage. And that was a big deal. I thought that was a big turning point in the Hurricanes program.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. I'm going to jump, Baylor. I definitely want you to jump in on this. But here's my problem. I got a real issue with this, right? And I guess I don't have an issue because it's not my stadium. But and I'm always call it Joe Robbie Stadium for those from the crib. It's gonna always be Joe Robbie Stadium because then I had Land Shark Stadium, Sunlight. So Joe Robbie Stadium is Joe Robbie Stadium. So here's the deal. What I don't like the way they did the Miami Hurricanes when they redid it. They put the teal and turquoise seats in there. So once you get that, at least we were getting away with the aesthetics look orange. It looked like it was our stadium. Now when the Hurricanes go in there, now it's not like the Miami Arena. You could cover a couple seats or whatever. Because you know what I mean. You're talking about doggone 80,000 seat stadium with turquoise seats. Everything now is turquoise and teal and aqua, whatever color that is. And our colors are green and orange. So it even takes even more away from that, man. And so, with all that being said, man, I just hate the fact that's happening. And I know in Coral Gables they have ordinances and all this stuff, and some guys were trying to get Tropical Park to rebuild that to make that the stadium. And like I said, Tropical Park is closer to
which I'm passing right now,
which is actually closer to the school and so forth and so on. But anyhow, man, but Balin, go ahead and speak to Real Talk FBS's point, and then we'll move on.
Yeah, man, I totally agree with you, man. And like you just mentioned too, Coach Hayes, like, dude, every time I go to the games, because I go to at least 2 to 3 games a year. And it's just, again, being in stadium and 80,000 seats. Think about that. That's almost double, almost triple what the Orange Bowl used to be. That's like the lower bowl for the Orange Bowl. And so whenever you would fill that up, it'd feel like an actual atmosphere. You go to I've been to a Florida State Miami game, 2 years ago, and it was sold out, right? But I still saw so many empty seats. It just didn't feel like an actual game that was towards the Hurricanes. It just felt like one big, like, random party. So it's just, again, that goes with recruiting. I already know. I talk to a lot of guys, especially the guys that I train and stuff. They always talk about, they say Miami is not really where with.
Uh-oh, did we lose you?
There's no really, you're not playing for the University of Miami. You're playing for the Miami Dolphins wearing a U on your helmet. And it's just that pride, man. And that's why I love, going to games like at Florida State. I mean, you could feel the pride. You got people tailgating there. Like, it's just, student sections and stuff like that. And they don't get that at Miami, man.
The campus spirit. There's no campus spirit. You know what I mean? The kids that probably go to the university aren't able to make it like they used to. So you lose that campus spirit. It feels corporate. You know what I mean?
Very
that's
much
how
so.
pro games feel. They feel corporate because you got these luxury boxes separating people. Whereas a lot of these other big schools, it feels like the crowd is right on top of you. It's just rows and rows of people. And that sound is just right on top of the field, and you don't get that with Dolphin Stadium.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, them tearing down the Orange Bowl was a travesty, man. Somebody should be indicted because I know there are stadiums out there old. I'm being serious because there are stadiums out there that's way older.
They should have just renovated.
Yeah, that's way older and it's still standing. And then we go pay as taxpayer. And I'm not going to get into politics of $500 million for a stadium. And I used to work literally down the street. I could hear the games from that stadium. The Marlins used to come to my job and give out tickets so people would come to the game. Only time I think they ever did anything was that very first year because people wanted to see it. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Let me just take a quick question. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And you had, for the longest time, you mentioned the Marlins. For the longest time, they were sharing that stadium. So you had that piece of the diamond all cut across the field. So, it just looked basic. Like, we got to share everything. We got to share the college team with the pro team and the baseball team. Like, come on, man. It was
bad.
Too much.
It was bad. Let me throw this question in here until I'm not sure what Balin is. But BP, that's me, says Randy never got a fair shake. His resources were less than limited. Al Golden had everything. You got anything to say in regards to that?
I would agree. I think because Randy was still dealing with the sanctions, if I'm correct, and Al Golden came in, and I think he did. I think he did less with more. As far as what Randy was trying to accomplish, and to your point, he didn't have he just didn't have that grasp on what Miami was all about. He wasn't an inspiring person. To me, he seemed like he should have been an offensive or defensive coordinator. But he wasn't a person to me that inspired men and could bring in the type of talent that we need. So I would definitely agree with that.
Right. And here's the thing. Actually, me and Balin were talking prior to this, and I'm not sure where he is. If he can hear me, come on back in. But there are some coaches, and here's the unfortunate thing about it. You'll never know this until until it happens. But there are some coaches who are better coordinators than they are head coaches.
Absolutely.
But you will never know that until they have an opportunity to become a head coach. So that's the hard thing about it. But when you're in a program like the U and we have the expectations that we have and so forth, we got to make it happen, man. But I do want to push forward here now. So we talked about so far as the present time. Now we currently have Manny Diaz in there now. And I want to say this. One of the most hurt moments in my life when it comes to Hurricane football, hold on, here's Balin right here. I'm going to bring him back in. So let me say this. So real talk, you good with everything?
Who, me?
Yeah, you got everything in? I'm gonna bring Balin back in. All right, hey man, listen,
thanks for having me.
Man, I appreciate you coming in. If there's anybody else want to come in, the link is in the comment section. Make sure you go ahead and click on it. We don't have a problem coming in. We just got one request. Just no cursing. That's it, man. But anyway, let me bring Balin back on. I'm gonna finish my point. So anyway, Balin, you hear me?
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So here's the thing I was saying. which I kind of forgot, man. So somebody tell me real quick, Lord. There's a one-man show back here on this board, but
you're talking about how like something as one thing that got you is a hurricane.
Oh, well, I was the most hurt. Listen, man.
Hurt.
So right now we're in the Manny. So we've made it all the way up through those different eras. We're at the Manny Diaz era, which we'll consider that the future, right? Because he's only been there a year, 2 years, so we're gonna consider this the future, right? I was in Colombia. I was in Medellin, Colombia, in the club.
Oh no! When they announced it, huh?
No, I'm watching the game, and they lost to FIU.
Oh yeah.
When I say that was the most hurt I had ever been, and I worked at FIU. I coached at FIU. You know, I did quality control there, and but listen, let me tell you something, man.
Dude,
when I say the most, I was hurt, and I actually listen. So I got my phone right. I don't know if you can see this. So I'm looking at the score. I flipped my phone upside down, thinking the score was wrong. I actually paid. owed me some money. I had to walk out the club because I had to get some fresh air, and they wouldn't let you right back in. So I had to pay again to get back in the club.
You lost in many ways, man.
When I say I was hurt, man, when I say that, when I saw FIU beat the University of Miami, and not the fact that you beat them on a 1-second play, because every time a team may take it, you know, Michigan lost to Appalachian State. Everybody takes those fright. You know, I get it. But when I was looking at the game and I'm watching domination, not a trick play. They came back in with a field goal. I'm talking about they players was killing them. They were match for match athleticism and everything else. And I'm like, come on, y'all. But anyway, so now we're in the Manny era. We're in the Manny Diaz era. Okay. And so here's where I am right now. I know I said 30 minutes, but hey, who cares? We got 20 people on here. We're going to keep going, baby. All right. So we're in the Manny era. We're in the Manny Diaz era. He comes in. Now, we talked about having the right fit. Okay. We talked about Al Golden. Well, we talked about Larry Coker, you know, not being from there, just kind of took over. Talk about Randy Shannon. He was from Miami, actually went to Miami, New Orleans, but I don't think he had the resources and the support he needed. He was actually their third choice. So, boom, he's out. Now you bring in Al Golden, right? He's not from there. He brings in a Penn State mentality, you know, with the tie and shirt. That means a lot. So now we're now to Manny Diaz, okay? You can't get more Miami than the son of the Miami mayor, baby. I mean,
well, you did forget Mark Richt.
Oh, Lord, I forgot about Mark Richt. And here's my I did forget about Mark Richt. And I'm going to say this one thing and I'm going to move on. My only issue I had with Mark Richt was that Mark Richt showed his hand a long time ago. When he was at Georgia, he was always a great –
and win the big game.
Yeah, he was always a 10-3 coach, 9-4 coach. Guess what? He plays the game. If you didn't watch it, they'll beat you. But they weren't – you know, it's kind of, they remind me of Texas. You know, Texas is a team that got talent, 9-4, 10-3 team. And guess what? If you don't watch it, they'll beat you, they'll hurt you. You know, they got talent to do so. And Mark Richt proved that at Georgia, right? And he comes here, does the same thing, right?
Same exact
I forgot about Mark Richt, and I apologize. So now we on the Manny. Okay, let me go through some of these comments too. So, we're down to Manny Diaz. So now we're saying, okay, we got to have a coach that's a fit, that understands, blah, blah, blah. Let me tell you something, and I'm going to say this to you, Baylor, and I'm going to let you speak on Manny Diaz.
Okay.
There was a coach named, is named Tom Herman when he was at Houston. And I'm going to tell you how you win the hearts of your players. This is how you win your locker room. When Tom Herman went to Paul Wall and had a grill made, okay? Because remember, this is not corporate kids. You're talking about 18 to 23-year-olds, okay? Those are the guys that got to play for you, not past the white line. But when he went to Paul Wall and had a grill made, man, he won the hearts of all of those players. And you ain't heard, listen, nobody heard about Houston playing football. And when he left, you ain't heard of Houston playing football since. I think was it Major Applewhite or Applegate? Applewhite is over there, whatever. But anyhow, he won the hearts of those kids, and that's what happened, man. You got to win the hearts of your players, you know. And that's the thing about Miami kids. I always say this, make this analogy, and I'm gonna let you have it. Miami people in general, but we talking about football players. We are like pit bulls. We vicious and we strong, right? And if we don't trust you, you're going to have hell on your hands. But if we trust you and we know you got our back 100%, you can slap us around, we'll run through a brick wall for you. And when you lost that trust of those kids, that's what you get, man. So, Baylor, I want you to talk about the Manny Diaz era a little bit, and also maybe some of the recruits. I know they got the quarterback coming in and so forth.
Yep.
I'll let you talk about that, and I'll get to some questions.
So Manny Diaz, that was one of the. Actually, I'm gonna be honest with you. I did when he had accepted the Temple job. I was hurt because I knew what he did for the program, especially on the defensive side of the ball, because he had brought something to Miami that actually brought back that swagger, that winning mentality of the turnover chain. That was his idea. And of course, they're going to say, hey, we were in a coach's meeting. No, that was a complete Manny Diaz idea. Sure. And when he did that as a defensive coordinator, which is, in my opinion, and I'm going to stand by this, that I think he's better at, it would just brought that swag. So he won the kids over by that, and he won almost America over that by that. But college football came back with the Hurricanes. Now
he changed the game. Even them Florida State dudes tried to bring out a book bag. But anyway,
yeah, that was exactly.
We getting the bag. Get out of here with that.
Yeah, but you see the youth leagues now, the youth leagues all over the country bringing out the chain, with their logos on it, and then high school doing it. So it was a trend sender, and Manny Diaz started that, so they love that. But when it comes to being the head coach at the University of Miami, I honestly feel like they went towards that because of how he won the team over through that chain. But again, are we about friendships? Are we about making what the kids are happy, or what's cool, or what's unique, right? Or are we about winning? Are we about that culture of, I don't care about the flash, I don't care about this, we could go out there with cutoff shirts and go out there and win football games? And I was actually hoping Butch Davis was going to come back and take the job. And look what he's doing with FIU. I mean, that's coaching. You tell me you line up the two rosters, Miami Hurricanes and Florida International, and you tell me if they only had one or two 5-star recruits in the entire roster, and we had about 18 or 19, and you lose to them in a dominating fashion, that's coaching. And that's what Butch Davis, he has a winning mentality. He's going to get the most. That's what Lane Kiffin did out of FAU. I don't think Lane Kiffin's a good head coach. I think he's a phenomenal recruiter and a great offensive coordinator. But again, it's about the coach who wants to win. And with this Manny Diaz era, I feel like, again, the players love him, they respect him. But is he a winner as a head coach? He hasn't really proven much because he's young. He doesn't have much experience as a head coach. But as a defensive coordinator, I love him. I wish that we can get in another head coach and he would stay as a defensive coordinator, because I feel like that's his strong suit. But when it comes about winning, this is Manny Diaz's problem. I think this is the Hurricanes' problem. This is after Larry Coker. What is the Miami Hurricanes' identity? Who are you? Are you a spread team? Are you a pro team? Are you a balanced team? What is your identity as an offense? Because if you've seen, like we've talked about earlier, there is no identity in our offense. We go from spread, next week we're in shotgun, the next week we're in pro style, the next week, we're in multi-set. And look at the quarterbacks that we're recruiting. Where are we? I think we've lost our perception or our mentality of our identity. Who do you want to be as an offense? Because we've already established as defense. We're obviously fast in football, fast, physical, tough. That's what Manny Diaz, fast, physical, tough. Okay, great. Turnovers. But as an offense, what is our identity? The fact that we had 3 starting quarterbacks at some point last year and the previous year, that's a problem. When you can't get top quarterbacks committing to university and have to rely on transfers, that's a problem. And that's with coaching. We have to know how to recruit and what is your identity and who do you want to be as an offense. That's the problem. And I think Manny Diaz, the only way he's successful is if he hires a true, solid offensive coordinator, which, again, I think our new offensive coordinator is the real deal. I know him personally. Rashly. I dealt with him in recruiting quarterback Marvin Washington, Dr. Phillips, when he was at UConn. I love what he stands for. I love the offense he runs. He was with Cam Newton at Auburn. I feel like he's going to do such great things. SMU was the top 10 in offensive scoring last year. Now, people are going to know that because SMU, but if you look at statistics, they were top 10 in scoring and offense, which is big. That's what Miami needs. But who are you as an identity? Are you going to go to the spread? Are you going to stay in that pro style where we're going to run it down your throat and we're going to score with these backs that we have every single year? Because for some reason, we keep getting the top 5 start. Now, here's another issue. How do we have Lorenzo Lingard a 5-star running back who was proven to be healthy get 3 snaps all year, and 3 of those snaps were in the first game against, I want to say, Bethune-Cookman. That again. Where is your identity? Who do you want to be as a football team? And I feel like Manny Diaz needs to find his identity, which I think Butch Davis did a phenomenal job, which is, that winning mentality of we're going to be very organized and we're going to be very efficient and we're going to be disciplined. That was awesome. Then we have my favorite head coach, Jimmy Johnson. We're going to win with talent. We're going to win with swag. We're not going to talk. We're going to just go out there, whoop your butts. Our second and third string people that up. And Mark Richt was way too nice. I feel like a great Christian man. I love what he stands for, but he's way too nice. He's not known for winning the big games. He just, for whatever reason, he just can't get over that hump. But we get to number 2 in the country, and then we lose 3 straight to Pittsburgh, to our bowl game, to Wisconsin. Like, what happened there? Like, it's too nice. Manny Diaz has the right personality. I just think he needs to find his identity outside of defense. He needs to hire the right people in place that believes in a vision that he sees, and not have to handle so much his defense, because you see him a lot trying to groom his little protege that he brought in from Texas, or from Texas. Whatever that player. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, that young guy. He showed that he's not ready for the big moment. You got to bring in the top tier guys. You're at the University of Miami. This is the U. Like, this is not some.
Well, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this though. Here's the problem: we can't pay those top tier guys.
Ooh,
that's the biggest problem. It's not the fact that it's not the fact. But guess what? We can't pay them because all of our money. First of all, like I said, we're a private institution. We can't compete with the state. We don't generate our own funds because we talked about that's not our stadium. So we got to rent that. We got to pay all these outside forces. So anyway, that's really one of the reasons why
it's true.
We can't get the top talent. Why do you think nobody wanted to come to Miami at the time when they do that? Crazy, because nobody they were offering $1 million when the low win was $3 million. So anyway, you're exactly right in your point, with everything that you said. But I'm gonna say this about being a leader. One thing about being a leader is to be able to say this: I don't know what I don't know. Okay. And if you have to know that, right? But you have to get the right people in place in order to do that. And so if you don't know what you don't know, which is fine, nobody knows everything. But like you said, you got to get the right guys, the right coordinators, the right this.
Go past the restaurant from.
And to be very honest with you, when it comes to Manny Diaz, I don't really knock it because, like you said, you don't know until you don't know. When it comes to a head coach, because that was his first time. I mean, he had he checked all the boxes. He was from Miami, so he checked that. He did a great job with the defense. He was innovative with the chain. You have to give him a shot. I just think that now you have to get your talent back. You have to get your think about it. You brought up something about Georgia. We lost players like James White to Wisconsin, who played right there at St. Thomas Aquinas. We lost Sony Michel, who played at American Heritage, to Georgia.
We lost Delvin Cook.
Delvin
and his brother.
But I can take if you lost to a Florida State school. Florida, I can take it if you lose to an in-state school. But to lose to Wisconsin, you lost one of the top running backs to not just even out of state. Dude went into the next. You know what I mean? So what I'm saying is now we have to get the talent. And I do want to say this. I'm looking on his 247 right now. I have to say this about Manny Diaz. All of the commitments that they have right now, the recruits that they have and they're committed right now for class of 2021. You have Miami Central, Miami. You have Plantation, Fort Lauderdale. And then what I'm saying first is the school they went to. Chaminade, Madonna, Hollywood, Florida. Miami, Palmetto, Miami. Pompano Beach, Stoneman Douglas. Independence from Texas. Columbus, Miami. Killian, Miami. Northwestern Miami. Chaminade, Madonna, Hollywood, Florida. Edgewater. Speaking of that, I just did a video on him today. So if you want to check it out, that's what actually helped spark this thing tonight, man. So they got a linebacker out of Edgewater, which is in Orlando. Bishop Verrett from Fort Myers, Florida, and another one from Chaminade, Madonna. So out of all his,
I love that, man.
He's only got one commit out of state, which is a tight end from Texas. So I ain't mad at it.
I love that. That. That's what I'm talking about.
I just
but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
with Randy Shannon, with Randy Shannon, with Mark Richt, with Larry Coker, with Al Golden. They're all top 10, top 15 recruiting classes every single year, and that's it's just, and I hate it because I hate looking at that, because I think at one point Mark Richt had, or someone had, the number 1 or number 2 recruiting class in the country, and I think it was Mark Richt. And yet, what do we do with these guys? The coaching. It's the coaching. And again, like you said, man, I love what Manny Diaz is doing because he's staying local. And again, the local is what I care about, because again, you can get about 4 or 5 5-star recruits out of, like you said, Texas or Iowa, or what we just talked about earlier, Vermont. But when you talk about the caliber of talent, when you match a 5-star from that place to a 5-star from Miami, it's a whole different ball game. So when you're recruiting and you're showing that you're recruiting out of Miami, that's when we're making progress. And I love that you mentioned that. Great point.
It's funny you just said that, because there's different levels of stars now. Because I do, for you guys that don't know, if you just jumping on here for the first time, I do reaction videos to the top talent across the nation, and there's some 4 and 5 stars out there. And if they play in Miami, I'm gonna be honest, and I'm not trying to just say this in Miami.
Preach, man, preach, please.
It wouldn't even be, and even just Florida. Let's just say Florida, in some part, they wouldn't even make the roster. They wouldn't even make the 3, 4, or 5-star roster. And trust me, I'm looking at it. But guess what? Here's the flip side. And I hope I don't start a huge migration. There's some kids in Florida that are the 3rd string. If they move to Iowa, they'll be a 5-star, be the number 1 recruit in the nation. But guess what? And I think V. Willie said it earlier. Our 3rd string can whip your 1st string cornerback. So with that being said, we have a plethora of talent, bro. So the problem that we have right here, Balin, is that what I see is the problem that we have is that we got to get those guys back. We have to develop them. We have to teach them. We got to get them going. But there's a point, and I'm going to say this. It takes everybody. It's not just coaching. It takes the school to believe. It takes the administration to believe. It takes the student body to believe. It takes the training staff. It takes everybody to make, trust me. Trust me. I do enough of these doggone Ohio State kids. I get more DM. Listen, I had a lady, she had to be all of 80-some years old. I saw a picture. She was giving me the business. She was giving me the business in my DMs. First of all, how you know how to work the DMs? But she was working me. All right. So I'm gonna say this right quick. Let me take this right here. We got Chris Floyd. All right. He says Randy had the number 1 class in 2008, which was true, but did he have the support? I don't know. That's a question. That's a question to be had. All right, Chris, what's up with you, man? Boy, it's been a minute, my man. It's been a minute. All right. Let me look at this right here. Catch a couple of these questions right here. Like I said before, if you want to jump on here and you got something to say, please do. I'll put it in the comment section of YouTube, so you're more than welcome.
Hey, Coach Hayes, funny story, man. Ready for this? I'm in the state championship game, and quarterbacks go out there to warm up before the game, about 30 minutes before. Well, we had the field first, and the head coach from Miami Northwestern walked out of his locker room and went straight up to our head coach at the time, was Phil Ziegler. He was standing right behind me, and I had just got done throwing a route, and I look back and I see them talk to each other, and the only thing I caught was the end of that conversation. And he said, "No disrespect, coach, but if we played you 100 times, we'll beat you 100 times. Not because of the coaches we have, but because of the players in that locker room." And he turned around and walked away. You talk about swag. You talk about that Miami mentality.
I'm telling you.
We're talking about a team that had 8 commits to the University of Miami. And when we looked in that stands, all you saw was hurricane flags. And we're talking about a high school team. And it felt like we're playing the University of Miami. And that's just a sense of pride, man. That's the difference between a Miami athlete and athletes that we see. And like you said, man, I'm going to be honest, man. I've been around a lot of 3, 4-star recruits. If they were in Miami, they would be 3rd stringers, and it wouldn't be, and then vice versa. So
listen, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe that was Coach Ice, man. He's the head coach now at Florida Memorial University. All right, and he actually coached at University of Miami and everything like that. If I'm not mistaken, if that's him. If I am mistaken, please put it in the comments section. I do want to say this. I saw one. We had a question here. Ben Cleveland says, "Rhett, the new OC is the real deal." Okay, so we're gonna find out, though, Ben. We're gonna find out real quick if he is the real deal. All right, because talk is cheap, and guess what? You got to play on the field, man. So we talked about Manny Diaz in the future. Here's a question: And this is my last question. What is the future? And V Willie done jump back in on this thing, so we're gonna give him a chance too. What is how do I phrase this? Let me say this before I ask you this. I'm gonna state a problem, and I'm gonna state an issue that a lot of people don't understand. The University of Miami is going to have a very hard uphill battle to get back for several different reasons. Like I said, the stadium, the situation, so forth. But here's another thing. The city of Miami is totally different than what it was in the 90s and early 2000s. South Beach is not South Beach. South Beach was not what it is today. There's a lot of distractions. There's a lot of things. There is no distraction in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. I promise you. Been there. Ain't no distractions there. There's no distractions when it comes to Columbus is a city, but it's not the same.
Right. No.
And so when I say all that, there are a lot of distractions that Miami has to face with just the city itself becoming a hotbed for celebrities and everything else. It's got distractions so far as facilities. It's got distractions so far as financial burdens it has. It has distractions so far as a lot of things. So my question is, what is the future for the University of Miami-Baylor, and what do you see the next five-year plan is for the program?
Well, before I answer that question, man, you are completely right, and I think that is exactly the problem right now, especially with social media being so big. I mean, in Miami, you have access to everything, celebrities. I mean, look at the sidelines of the University of Miami. When you play there, you have some of the celebrity stars, you have movie stars, former players. They're all there, all the glitz and glamour. Like you said, I went to Ohio State for Christmas with my wife and her family, and it is boring. When I talk about boring, it is boring. But when you're on campus, it is beautiful, right? So it's just like Alabama. I've been to Alabama. It is boring. There's nothing to do there. But when you go to Miami, when you literally can go from a football game, leave and go to South Beach, or you can go to the Dolphin Mall, or you can go to Coconut Grove, or you can go to Coral Gables. Yeah, Beverly, exactly. You have so many distractions that it's easy to get caught up in the media, which is ultimately going to hurt the program, and you're just exposed to way too much. Now, in the next 5 years, if the trends are the same, I think that, with moving in Rhett Lashley in, and with the top 10 recruiting class, and I feel like if Manny Diaz gets the right pieces, I think we'll be back, because it showed you how quick. If we can just win a couple games, college football wants the University of Miami back. They want them back desperately, because that brings attention to the game. When Mark Richt got Miami to number 2 in the country, Miami was the number 1 talked about team in the college football, because we were unranked to start the season, and now we got to number 2 only by winning 8 games. And let's be honest, 2 of those were ranked teams. None of them were really ranked, and we barely won. Every game was like a comeback victory. So if Miami can just get together and win 10 games this season, 11 games, and oh no, we're undefeated. Now we're back, and I think within the next 5 years, we'll be a top 10 football team consistently, but we have to be consistent with our coaching. We can't keep going through coaching changes. We can't keep going over through coordinator changes. We just can't do that. We have to figure out and find a way to pay these guys, 1, but number 2, keep the right guys at the University of Miami to where they want to be there and continue the recruiting in Miami. And I feel like within 10 years, I think we'll win a national title, but within the next 5, we'll be a consistent top 10 team. But we have to continue to recruit the way we're recruiting and continue to bring in the right guys that can coach these type of players, because it takes someone special to get these kids to actually be disciplined and focused and stay out of the distraction lifestyle in Miami, and then we'll win and win consistently. And again, Miami is a great program, and college football needs Miami to be successful in order to bring hype to the game. And I totally agree with that statement.
Yeah, man. And like I said, we're losing our talent, and I'm going to bring V Willie on here in a second, but we're losing our talent. I just did a video on a young man named Ja'Cory Brooks, one of the top wide receivers from Booker T. Washington High School in Miami. And guess what? He's going to Alabama. I mean, just think about this. Alabama wins national championships, and I'm saying all this because I know I'm going to bring V Willie on, and we talked about plays and so forth, but players make plays happen. If you take away right now Amari Cooper, if you take away Calvin Ridley, if you take away what's the guy just left that's from South Florida? We're talking about South Florida. I'm not talking about like Derrick Henry, who was up by Jacksonville, right?
Right.
We're talking about the elite guys
Yeah, the heart of
that
Miami.
are from South Florida. We just lost. We just lost Ja'Cory Brooks. He left. He's from Booker T. He's committed to Alabama. Those guys are the difference makers. Amari Cooper, Calvin Ridley, all of those guys, man. And those guys make a difference in the program. So, all that being said, I'm gonna bring on V Willie, and I want to hear his point in regard to the future of and I'm gonna mute you right quick. You got a loud background, Baylor. So I'm gonna mute you.
Okay.
V Willie, you back on, baby?
Yeah, I thought it'd be more people, so I'm glad you took it again. But I want to comment on Balin's point. He made a great point, and we can harp on the past, and it's about the present and the future. And like I'm not opposed to seeing Manny Diaz through a few more years, depending on hopefully giving him a chance to show himself. I know sometimes we like to jump the gun when things don't go our way because we know it's a win now program. Everyone's watching us, the eyes on But to Balin's point, we need continuity of coaching. And let me point this out to you guys. You guys are football junkies, so if you think about the last 3 national champions, right? All the coaches who were there have been there for a while. We're talking about Saban, we're talking about Dabo, and we're talking about the brother from Ohio State who coached Urban Meyer, right? So for the most part, and even the guy from LSU was there for a couple years as an assistant before he won a championship. So continuity in coaching goes a long way. So we have to see Manny Diaz through. Now, I'm not saying he needs to be there 10 years. We don't know. But if he's winning, we can consistently chip away and just get better year in and year out. And like Balin said, we luck up one day, we're number 16 in the country. Then we're number 10 another year. I think Miami fans want the improvement, right? We don't want to go backwards. We won we were 6-6 last year, or 7-6. We're never going to that, right?
Man, hey, when we lost to FIU, I was hurt, bro.
Right. And I can imagine how you felt at Columbia when that happened. I'm like, I couldn't believe it myself.
I'm out there trying to, hey, you know what I'm saying?
Listen, you wanted to break dance, right? So I think what the fans we just get disappointed in the way how things play out. And so if we could win games and win them convincingly, winning how we know you used to win them back in the day. Because a lot of games we won last year, we barely won. There came a point in time when you play Miami, we scoring 21 in the first quarter, right? And then we were cruising the rest of the way. We may win the game 38-3 or 7. Sure. So I agree with Balin. Continuity and coaching goes a long way. And once you have a good coach who can recruit, the sky's the limit. So one thing about, I'm not a fair weather fan. I've been with Miami for years, the U for years, and I will continue because I know that it's going to get better. And it's just a matter of time before we get back to the top. So, I'm looking forward to the season. I'm not sure what season is going to bring this year with this COVID-19 thing, but hopefully everyone is safe and we can have college football this year. And I'm looking forward to it.
I love it, man.
Thanks for having me again. I mean, and talking to you, Bailey, and talking to you, Coach.
Hey, man.
You guys mentioned a lot about that FIU game, but I knew there was a problem with the Eastern Michigan game. When we couldn't move the ball against Eastern Michigan, and that was early in the season, I'm like, this is not good
19, like 16, 14? It was like a weird game like that.
13 or something.
Yeah, 1913, yeah.
13 or 9.
Uh-oh. He might be gone. He's back. We can't hear you.
Yeah, that's what I knew was a problem, man. That Eastern Michigan game. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, man. So, and you're right, man. But so, like I said, everybody takes a stumble. Everybody takes a fall. But I do want to say this, man. V. Willie, I appreciate you having me, man. We about to close this thing out, man.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Bailey. Thank you, Coach, again. It's been great. I appreciate it. It's fun.
No problem, man. Thanks a lot for joining us, man. I do want to take a couple of these questions right here, man. They rolling in right now, man. We have a let me see here. I just saw it, man. Oh, here we go. Perfect question. Samuel Dowger, who's actually one of my former players. My man Sam Dowger in the building. All right. Really quick, man. He says, what about Ed Reed being a part of the program? I actually love the fact that he is bringing back those guys into the program. Here's my only question, okay? And I actually had a chance to watch Luke Skywalker, old school Luther Campbell, Uncle Luke, whatever one of those names you want to call him. He does a great job when he talks about football, believe it or not, man. And I do want to try and get him on here one day and have a show and talk with him, definitely. But on his show, he was talking about getting back the alumni, and he did a great Zoom meeting, I guess it was, with all of the former alumni. He put it all together. You had Edrin James, you had Highsmith, you had everybody. It had to be about 20 guys on Don Solinger. Everybody was on it. So anyway, with that being said, he was talking about having those guys in. Now, here's the thing about Ed Reed. I don't have a problem with Ed Reed being on the field, but don't handcuff the man. Okay, there are certain rules that you can have. So you can only have now 10 coaches. So if you can only have 10 coaches, and he may be part of the recruiting department, well, then he's not effective on the field because he can't go on the field and coach. All right. So if we're going to do that, let's not do it for show. Let's not do it for, if he can really coach, then let's do it. Let's do it. Have him get, because right now as a recruiter, he can't go into the living room of John Doe and get him to come into the school. They have to come to the school in order for Ed Reed to talk to him. But I know one thing: if Ed Reed stepped in my living room, sign me up. Sign me up. You understand what I'm saying? Because you're talking about one of the best to ever do it. Now, I'm going to say this, and some people may whatever. Just because you can do it don't mean you can coach it. So I don't know what his level of coaching ability is either. Now, I'm not saying he can or can't coach. I think he's very bright, and I think he can coach. But I have never seen him coach, so I can't speak to his coaching ability. All right, so I'm gonna leave that out there. Leave that there at that, man. But Sam, boy, what's up with you, man? I've been following you, man. I'm proud of you, man. All right. Also, okay. Chris Floyd says you also have to remember these kids are a different generation from how we grew up. That is a fact. That is a fact. But guess what? They still kids. I don't see they're still being recruited to a school. We're not talking about these are great athletes and then they don't want to play college ball. Why is it now that these kids are leaving, going to other programs and not coming to University of Miami? That really had nothing to do with how we grew, in my eyes, how we grew up. That's just how I look at it. It has to do with
100%.
It has to do with what's shiny right now. And what's shiny right now is the championships, the facilities, that is. Hell, LSU got lounges in the locker room. University of Miami might have a stool you put upside down in your locker. You know what I mean? So, everything that glittered and gold, but guess what? It shows shiny. All right.
You dang right.
Okay, hold on. Sigmund Sandifer. Excuse me if I mispronounce your name. Anyway, you can get Cooney or Lockett, Hippolyte on your show. I definitely try. You know what I mean? Like I said, Coach Hippolyte was the head coach at Carroll City Senior High School, and he's now over there. I believe he's working quality control or something like that for the Hurricanes. So I have to take my hat off to Manny Diaz, as well as for trying to bring back guys in the community like Coach Hippolyte, who I believe they won the state championship or went to the state championship at Carroll City. He's bringing back those guys into the program, the Ed Reed, so forth and so on. Hey, I'll put the word out. Let's get them on the show, man. Let's make it happen. Let's see what they got. Let's see what they got to say. All right. I don't get it. Let me put this off here. This is something we ain't talked about, Balin. Michael Pullum, that's my cousin now. You see, even his picture he got on the orange and green. It says, what about
I like it. I love it.
Now listen, he's a diehard Kane fan now. You better be careful. He'll hit you with your car.
We need one ASAP.
Definitely.
ASAP.
I knew Miami. I knew Miami was in trouble when receivers start running past our DBs. And we couldn't catch them. That's when I knew.
Never happens.
Never. Listen, a dude may catch a ball. He may go up and make a spectacular catch. But when I start seeing receivers outrunning the DBs, 5-yard leads, not no double moves. I'm talking about simple posts, goes, I said, we in trouble, bro. We in trouble.
Lost him. Yeah, we need a true defensive coordinator so that Manny can be a true head coach.
Yeah.
I think he's spending way too much time on the defensive side of the ball, and it's not healthy. And he's trying to groom that young guy. But honestly, man, we're not about friendships. We're about winning. And he's got to find a defensive coordinator, and it's got to be quick.
Yeah. So and it's funny you say that, man. Like you said, that is what it's about. And you know, we got to just make it happen, man. Defensively, to me, it's always about play. My Jimmy better than your Joes, not your X and O's. I always say that. You know, I could have the greatest scheme.
We're getting away with. Right. Miami's getting away with winning on talent. We got to actually win with talent and good coaching, and that's when you become the Alabamas.
Yeah. Yeah. So we got to get it there. We're definitely going to get it there. Any last minute comments or anything, please let me know. I'm trying to think here. Is there any last second comments or anything anybody want to say before we get out of here, man? We have 1 hour and 25 minutes. Guess what? Hey, we got to pay late fees out here, guys. We got to pay late fees out here, man. Guess what? It is what it is.
You see, I postponed dinner time.
Hey, hey, charge me, man.
I love it.
Charge me. But anyway, I'm loving it. Hey, and it's our first one, and I enjoy having these conversations. So let's talk. We'll always talk. We have good things going. But anyway, let me see here. Well, we're talking about hurricanes. I see one of my guys want to try to say something about North Carolina. I will get him a shout out. Matt Brown is doing, good job on the recruiting. He's got some guys I didn't think he was going to get. I'm gonna be very honest with you. So he snatched a couple that I didn't think he was going to get, but I'm gonna leave that there. We're gonna do us a North Carolina segment as well, or we're gonna do some surprise team segments or whatever the case may be. But we're talking about these Canes right now, man. So what we got, the Canes, are there any more questions? Going once, going twice, 3 times sold? You got to let me know. All right. Here's my final thing I do want to say in closing, man. I am optimistic when it comes to the Hurricanes. Like I said, I know they do have an uphill battle, man. But I think I personally believe Manny Diaz is on the right track when it comes to doing the right things, putting the right people in place. At least he's getting the names in there now. You know what I mean? He's getting the Ed Reeds. He's getting those kind of guys. And here's my thing. I think Ed Reed is a stand-up guy. You know, I don't know him. I haven't met him, but just through the things I see, follow him on Facebook and social media and so forth. But I think Ed Reed won't, as my mom used to say, he won't take tea for the fever. He's a no-nonsense guy when it comes to certain things. And if
he calls it like it is, man.
He calls it like it is. So if we ever see Ed Reed leave that program, that is a true sign that there's something wrong. You know, unless and I don't think he'll come out with the whole and I don't really think he'll come out with the whole, the coach speech of, I want to spend more time with my family. That's why I'm quitting speech. He gonna let you know straight up. Look, man, this ain't what I thought it was going to be. I don't want to be a part of it. I'm out. Or he's going to say, you know what? It is what it is. I'm a part of it. So that right there is a guy you need to watch to see what he does. And I'm proud to see whatever happens from there. So with that being said, Balin, I do want to say this to you. Let me get this out here. How can people reach you or so far as follow you on your social media?
Yeah, so I'm very vocal, especially when it comes to Hurricane football. And you can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at Balin Trujillo. It's very simple. It's my first and last name. Again, it's at Balin Trujillo. That's on Twitter and Instagram. Especially on Twitter, I'm very vocal about my opinion on certain topics, especially when it comes to Hurricane football throughout the year. I go to the Florida State-Miami game every single year. So if you guys go there, you'll catch me there every year with my wife. Right now, we're 3-0. We've been there the past 3 years, and we've won all 3 times. Most notably, this second time when we were down 27-7, came back and won 28-27. But again, I'm very vocal about the Hurricanes. I don't shy away from it. I don't care how bad we are. We can go 6-6, and I'm still talking trash because it's always about the U. Coach Hayes, thank you for having me. I love the fact that we share that same common bond, and we're going to be Hurricane fans sticking through. I don't care how bad it gets, man. I look forward to future conversations with this, especially during the season. And this is going to be great, man. But appreciate you, man.
No problem, man. Anytime, man. Thank you so much for coming on, man. Giving your point of view. And I'm just going to do, like I said, do some things here in closing. Let me make sure I got to get my brands and things out there while you're still on here so you can give me a little distraction. All right, for myself, okay, my Facebook is Coach Hayes Football. I need everybody to go into Coach Hayes Football All right. So that way you can follow me on there. That is the Facebook, as well as my Twitter is at Coach Hayes FB. Okay, that it doesn't have football on it just because Twitter limits the amount of characters. So Coach Hayes FB, and my Instagram is at Coach Hayes Football. As you know, I do a lot of the WREs and things like that. So far as what I call watch, react, and evaluate. If you don't know what WRE is, but we watch, react, and evaluate talent from across the nation. I drop a video every day except Sundays, and on Tuesdays at 8 p.m., I do WRE Live. So I'm going to get on into that. Balin, man, I appreciate you. Thank you so much, man, and I'm going to definitely holler at you, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you and everything you're doing, man. Thank you.
No problem. Anytime. All right, so like I said, back to it. We do our WRE Live every Tuesday at 8 p.m. All right, we got a big one coming up. We have a Michigan commit. His name is Jaden Hood, and he has committed to the Wolverines, and he's going to be on our WRE Live. So if you don't know what that is where we just simply, we talk to him about football, what he likes to do, goals, so forth. But we're going to actually break down his highlight tape live, okay, and go through some of his plays. If he can ball, I'm going to let him know. If he can't ball, I'm going to let him know that too. All right. So we're going to make sure we knock all that stuff out. And if there are no more questions, I don't have any more questions. I appreciate everybody who came on here, man, from Facebook to YouTube. I didn't expect it to be an hour and a half. I tried to do 30 minutes, but guess what? That's how it goes, man. We rolling. So I have fun with it. Make sure before we leave, you hit that subscribe button. All right. Hit the notification bell so you are aware of all the latest content that comes out on this channel. And guess what, guys? I'm going to holler at you, man. Peace.